In this video, we're going to take a look at an introduction to the equation of a straight line. So if we have an equation of the form y equals mx plus c, let's just write that down here at the top. So y equals mx plus c, and this would be a straight line graph. And from this equation here, m tells us the gradient of the straight line. This is the gradient. And the gradient here just tells us how steep the graph is, and c then, this represents the y-intercept. Okay, so that's the y-intercept. So for example, let's say we've got here y equals 4x minus 2. And my gradient here, that's a number in front of x, that would be 4. So the gradient here, m, is equal to 4. My y-intercept here would be minus 2, if we want the coordinates here of the y-intercept. So for the coordinates of the y-intercept, let's just write this down in full. The coordinates of the y-intercept here, and that would be 0, minus 2. Okay, so the point here is minus 2, but the x-coordinate would be 0. Okay, because that's where it intersects with the y-axis. Okay, so just remember as well that the gradient here, so the gradient is equal to the change in y. This is the change in y. That's all divided here by the change in x. Divided by the change in x. And the actual formula that we use here is going to be y2 minus y1. And that's all over x2 minus x1. Okay, so the constant term here in the equation just shows the point where the line meets the y-axis. So again, just going back to this equation then, constant term here, that just tells us the point where the line meets the y-axis. Okay, so that's everything we need there for our introduction to the equation of a straight line. What we're going to do now is just take a look at a quick practice question for the equation of a straight line. So we just take a look at this practice question here, where we're asked to find the gradient and the coordinates of the y-intercept for the following lines. So just remember, we can only find the gradient and the coordinates of the y-intercept if we have the equation in the form of y equals mx plus c, where m here represents the gradient. That's our gradient here. And c is the y-intercept. Okay. So let's start with the first part here. Part A, do it underneath. We've got y equals 4x plus 1. My gradient here, that's the coefficient of x, the number in front of x here. In that case then, the gradient would be 4, so m is equal to 4. And then for the coordinates of the y-intercept here, well, the point here is at positive 1. So the coordinates then would be 0, 1. Okay? Remember, the x-coordinate for the y-intercept is always 0. Okay, so that's the solution to part A there. Moving on to B now. We've got y equals 2 minus 3x. This might look a little bit different. So normally we write in the form y equals mx plus c, where the mx part comes first. What's different about part B here is we've got minus 3x at the end. Okay, so don't overcomplicate this. Remember, the gradient here is just a number in front of x. So that would be minus 3 for this one. So the gradient here is minus 3. Then the coordinates of the y-intercept here, remember that's just a constant term, just a number on its own. That would be positive 2 here. So the coordinates then would be 0, 2. Okay, so that's the solution to B there. Let's take a look at C now. What we've got here is y equals a half x to a half x minus 4. So for the gradient here, remember that's just a number in front of x. So in this case then, it doesn't matter that it's a fraction. That would be our gradient. So m is equal to a half. And then for the y-intercept here, or the coordinates of the y-intercept, well, the y-intercept here is at minus 4, so the coordinates would be 0, minus 4 there. Okay, that's the solution to C. And then finally, we take a look at the very last part here. Part D, we've got 2y is equal to 12x plus 6. Let's just write that down here. So 2y is equal to 12x plus 6. Now we have a bit of an issue here. Okay, so we can't just say the gradient here is 12. My y-intercept here would be 0, 6. We can't do that because it's not in the form y equals. Notice here it's 2y equals. So to get it in that form, we need to divide both sides by 2. So we divide both sides by 2 here. And what I'm going to get then on the left-hand side is simply y equals. We'll get y on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side here then, we've got 12x plus 6 divided by 2. So just divide each term here by 2. So 12x divided by 2, that would give us 6x. We get 6x there. And then plus 6 divided by 2, that would give us plus 3 there. So from here now, we've got it in the correct form. So now we can identify the gradient and the coordinates of the y-intercept. So for the gradient then, so m here would be the coefficient of x, that would be 6. And then for the y-intercept here, or the coordinates of the y-intercept, that would be 0 and 3. Okay, so 0 for the x-coordinate, and then positive 3 for the y-coordinate. And there we have it. So that's the solution to the very last part there. That gives the solution to that practice question. And that brings the end of this video on an introduction to the equation of a straight line. In the next video, we're going to take a look at exam revision for the equation of a straight line.